Hey guys, Mrs. Yeagle here. This is the second half of chapter 16. I'm on the top of 195. Tilly heaves a sigh. Then I better see if this fits. She strips out of the clothes Christiane gave her and dons the German uniform piece by piece. It fits her surprisingly well, minus the too long pants and the jacket that strains against her chest. She turns in a circle for us. Well? Passable, I say, as long as no one takes a good look at her. We'll need to do something about your hair, though, Sabine offers. Tilly nods, takes the dagger hidden by a strap next to her ankle, and begins cutting off her hair. It falls to the ground around her in a bright ring, and she hides the aftermath under the soldier's helmet. We better hurry, Sabine points ahead. Are you two ready? Ready? Am I ready to become the Nazis' target practice? Am I ready to set off a bomb that could blow me to pieces? Am I ready to die? No, I don't feel ready at all. But I don't think Theo did either when his unit landed in Algeria. I doubt he was ready to die a few months later, but there will be tens of thousands of Theos dying in the coming months if Operation Zero Fall launches and spreads across England and the States. But not if I can help it. I will be ready. I have to. We divide up the weapons. Tilly and I hide an assortment of them underneath our clothes. Knives, pistols, tear gas pens, and we stow more in the soldier's bag, including the pouch of Aunt Jemima and the 2 gas masks. Meanwhile, Sabine carefully extracts a small fist of powder to blow up the fence, bundling it up in a handkerchief. She also gathers her share of grenades and rifles and tosses me a couple extra magazines, which I tuck into my boots. We decide not to wait until nightfall to execute our attack. There's no point in delaying the inevitable. We can't give the Nazis another minute to finalize Operation Zierfall. There's no time for a goodbye. Sabine goes one way while Tilly and I head in the other direction. If all goes well, Sabine will catch up to us down in the laboratory. If not, we go on without her. We'll carry on covert ops mission to the very end. We draw to the edge of the forest, inching toward the empty field and toward the Nazis' eye shot. To properly play this part, I walk a step in front of Tilly with my hands in the air while she holds one of our rifles against my back. I glance at her. Are you ready? I say, echoing Sabine. Do you truly want me to answer that? Fair enough. We've reached the gravel path that leads to the fence. The patrols ahead have spotted us, and one of them springs up toward the gate to meet us. I scan the fence line, waiting for the explosion, but there's none. Where's Sabine? She told us she'd set off the explosion before we reached that fence. The soldier's hand glides to his holstered pistol. Halt! Wer ist da machen wir dir Himmel? I know enough German to decipher that he's asking us to stop. My feet hesitate, but Tilly presses the gun into my spine, nudging me forward. The soldier's pointing at us now, shouting in tense and fast German. This time, I can't translate what he's saying, but by the bark in his voice, I know that we're skating on inch-thin ice. Halt sofort an Himmel! Tilly clears her throat, but both of us know that we're goners when she opens her mouth. Then it hits me. Maybe she can't talk, but I still can. Please, sir, I don't know what I've done wrong, I cry out in French and fall onto my knees. Keeping my hands up, I force a sob out of my throat. It's the same routine I used in Madame Rochet's attic, and I hope it'll work for us now. Don't hurt me! Tilly plays along with my distraction, yanking at my arm, shoving the rifle butt against my back. The soldier at the fence shouts at us louder, but there's a dismissive look in his eye that wasn't there before. Nothing to see here, just a hysterical woman who's wandered to a place she shouldn't have. But how long is he going to accept this routine before his suspicions return? Fortunately, I don't find out the answer to that, because Sabine finally delivers on her word. An explosion hammers into my eardrums. A burst of angry fire blooms along the far corner of the fence, knocking one of the patrols onto the ground and melting the barbed wire into metal puddles. The soldier in front of us falls backward, his helmet rolling off his head, and he forgets about Tilly and me entirely as he hurries to the thick black smoke. 3 of his colleagues peel off after him, shouting orders and grabbing their rifles. Not only that, when I search over the sniper's nest, I see the sniper's rifle pointed away from us and toward the fence. This leaves us with a few precious seconds to get inside the compound. The keys, I say to Tilly. Sabine, to her everlasting credit, launches another grenade not far from the first. The soldiers scatter, some toward the first explosion site, some toward the second. It's chaos for them and the perfect cloak for us. We scramble to the lone building without any trouble. When I reach the main metal door, though, I pause. I know better than to throw it open. I'm sure there will be a wall of soldiers on the other side with their guns pointed straight at us. The tear gas, I say to Tilly, but she's one step ahead of me. She shoves a mask at me and dons the other one, and I barely have time to tighten the strap on mine before she thrusts a live gas pen inside. We throw ourselves against the door to block the soldiers from getting out. Soon their fists slam against the metal and their screams claw into my ears, but we don't budge until those screams turn into coughs, and those coughs shift into nothing. I nod at Tilly and we yank the door open. 2 soldiers stagger out and fall onto their knees, retching. They don't even see us. Their eyes are swollen shut. Tilly sweeps a spray of bullets inside the building while I take care of the ones who've escaped. I breathe out and aim, and I think about Theo, about the Nazis who killed him. I squeeze the trigger 3 times into the Nazis' backs before my hands can think about trembling. One soldier tries to run, but he falls after I fire into his back. When he goes limp, I expect the nausea to hit my stomach, but it doesn't come. After Tilly gives me the all clear, we duck through the door. Curls of gas still swirl inside the room. There's not much inside, aside from 2 desks and the 5 bodies on the ground. No, 6 bodies. The last soldier alive coughs and reaches for his dropped pistol, but I rush forward and kick it out of his grasp. Tilly comes from behind me and finishes him off with a bullet right through the head, like she was taught. Then she pockets the gun for herself while I grab another one from off the floor. We'll be facing a lot more Nazis today, and we need all the firepower we can get our hands on. This way, I say, remembering the schematics Dorner gave me. I spent most of last night memorizing them and plotting out a plan of attack. I lead us around the corner and we find ourselves in front of an elevator. Tilly grimaces, and I know what she's thinking. An elevator is the last place we want to be, a tight metal box that we could easily get trapped in, but we have no other choice. I press the down button and the doors slide open like they've been waiting for us. We step inside. While the elevator creaks and groans, the lone light bulb above our heads swings back and forth, blinking in and out. It feels like an entire decade passes before we reach the bottom, but at least it gives Tilly and me time to go over our weapons. We have 5 pistols between us, along with a handful of pistol pens and tear gas pens, not to mention half a dozen knives strapped to various body parts. And the bomb, of course. Still, I wouldn't mind adding Sabine's little machine gun to the mix, or I'd just settle for plain Sabine. Once the elevator stops and its doors screech open, Tilly and I glue ourselves against the walls to brace for the gunfire that'll come at us. But there are no shots, no shouting soldiers. There's no sound at all, except for the hum of the light bulb. Tilly looks at me, confusion written all over her, but I don't have an answer for her because I'm just as puzzled. With my pistols nearly jumping out of my hands, I dart a glance beyond the doors, but I find an empty corridor. The hallway is bathed in white and sterile as a hospital floor, but in a hospital you'd find gurneys and wheelchairs and waiting rooms. Here's there's none of that, just a big hollow space. Where are the soldiers? The scientists? This doesn't make sense, I whisper. Tilly nods. Let's plant the Jemima and get out fast. Uneasiness spreads through my stomach, but we have a job to do, and we can't do it from the elevator. Our boots squeak over the waxed floors that have been polished to a sheen, and we pass door after door, each one shut tight. I don't want to even imagine what lurks behind them. Vials filled with Zerfall, samples of blood, autopsied corpses. I cross over a wide hallway. This one as cold as the one we're walking in. But as I pass over it, I hear gunshots. Dozens of them. I duck down at once and search frantically for the source. Not behind us. They're coming from down the hall I just crossed. And that's when I notice that Tilly never made it over with me. She's still on the other side, a gun in each hand. I'll cover you, I say to her, motioning for her to join me. There's too many. I'll hold them off. She tosses the pouch at my feet and fires off 5 rapid rounds. I pick up the pouch and go cold all over. This was supposed to be a 3-woman job, but Sabine's somewhere outside, and now Tilly has to hold off the soldiers. I sling the pouch over my shoulder and think about my brother again. It's all left to me now, and I won't let him down. The laboratory has woken. I leave the soldiers behind me to find more ahead. 2 jump out from one corner, and I barely have time to shoot one before the other's on top of me. We tumble to the floor, and I drive my elbow into his stomach and a fist into his chin. One more bullet, and he slumps next to me, his blood ruining the fresh wax beneath his body. I right myself and run, zigzagging down one corridor before spinning into the next. As the Nazis close in on me, I dash through a pair of double doors and slam them behind me, throwing the lock, even though a little lock won't keep the Germans away for long. The room is utterly dark, and I search desperately for a light switch, but come up empty. I swear, but tell myself it doesn't matter. I can get by with touch if I have to. I empty the pouch and grope for what I need, the accelerant, the detonator, and the bag of Aunt Jemima, Almost there. Just one more ingredient. Fire. My fingers pry open a book of matches and I tear one off. I need to move fast. Once the bomb is set, I won't have much time between finding Tilly and making it back above ground. But even if I don't make it out, if this whole building collapses on top of me, I'm going to make Theo proud. Get it done, I think. Get it done now, Luce. I bring the match head to the strike strip when suddenly the lights turn on so bright that they blind me. When I force my eyes open, I find myself in the middle of a giant box of a room, as barren as the halls I ran through. Except there's an enormous chalkboard in front of me, which spans an entire wall of the room. There's a message written on it, too. J'aime da sin, Gaia Morefisha. All of my blood runs cold. My German might be far from fluent, but I parse out the meaning behind the words. To each what he deserves, covert operations. The match falls out of my fingertips because the Nazis shouldn't know that covert ops infiltrated France. Unless... Footsteps stomp down the hallway and soldiers fly into the room, a blur of gray uniforms. I scramble to pick up the match and finish what I came here to do, but the Nazis are too fast. One of them seizes me from behind, pinning my arms to my sides, while another grabs my feet so I'm swinging in the air like a broken doll. I bite, I kick, I do every escape maneuver that I've been taught, but there are more than 20 soldiers surrounding me. I fight them anyway. My fist meets flesh. My foot slams into a groin. A soldier cries out, and he aims his rifle butt at my head. But then there's a shout from the back of the room. Stop! A voice says in German. She's not to be harmed. Sir, those are your orders. Put down that weapon. Now detain the girl and use the tranquilizer. A syringe looms in my vision. No! I manage to cry out, but it's useless. The needle sinks into my leg and a horrible burning climbs through me, singeing every cell it touches until a scream is knocked loose out of my throat. Spots dance in my vision, and I almost welcome the exhaustion that soon overtakes me. But before I lose consciousness, a face hovers over mine, bearded and smiling. Hello, Fräulein, the man says. It's been so long since I've heard English that I think I must be hallucinating. My head bobs up and I blink at him. And he looks oddly familiar. But my eyes go blurry and my arms go heavy, and it's all I can do to stay awake. There. The man brushes a hand through my hair, gentle as my mother's, but his words curdle my insides. I'm so pleased you're here. Sleep now, but soon we'll get very well acquainted. I can promise you that. This is getting creepy.